Hello, everyone. So, today, I'm going to be talking about The Rise of Skywalker. Because, I figured I'd throw my hat in the ring. It seemed like as good a way as any, to really, get back into that whole making videos thing. Because, man, it has been a while. Man, probably could have done something about that, but here now. But, anyways, yeah, without all that waffling stuff, let's get into this. So, before I actually talk about The Rise of Skywalker, I feel like it's a good idea to kind of talk about my general position on things when it comes to just in general Star Wars media at the moment. So, for me at least, anything that is from like the Star Wars brand warrants me watching it once. And if it's great, I'll watch it again and again and again, and you get the idea, so on and so forth, keep watching it. But if it sucks, I'll just kind of, rip it to shreds 5 minutes later, but I'll probably still enjoy myself while I'm watching it, either by virtue of whatever it is being really good, or just trying to kind of laugh at the bad shit rather than be sad, because, gotta stay positive. Yeah. But now we can actually start talking about the movie, why I think it's bad, and beyond that, why I think it's kind of just a joke. So, when I'm thinking about why the movie is bad, I think it comes down to one major issue. Like one big problem that kind of encapsulates the major thing of why I think this is bad. And that is that a lot of the stories, a lot of the characters, either that were already in the trilogy before this or that were introduced in this movie, their stories just feel underdeveloped or just unfinished. And I think a lot of this stems from two things. First of all, there's almost like tunnel vision levels of hyper focusing on Rey and Kylo Ren's respective character arcs and the dynamic between them, with pretty much everything else just being swept aside, right? Like, it just all feels relatively unimportant compared to what's going on with Rey and Kylo Ren. And to add to that, their stories aren't even that good. I mean, Kylo Ren's character arc seemed average to at best, really, to me. Like, it didn't seem like anything about it was utterly just terrible, but it didn't exactly seem like amazing either, right? A bit on the fence. I don't know exactly where I sit with it right now, but that'd be my idea, average at best. And Rey's story, bad. She seems to like have regressed as a character throughout the trilogy, like losing focus and control over her emotions and just becoming increasingly unstable, and then 180ing at the very end to be like totally driven and have a clear vision in mind. Like, she's increasingly losing control of her emotions and can't control herself, and then when she believes she's killed Chewie, that has no effect. That like, there's 5 minutes where it's like, oh, that really sucks, and then it just doesn't matter anymore. Like, what eventually causes her to be like, oh shit, is the pretty much unrelated event of Leia dying. Like, it is almost completely unrelated to her, like, going nuts. And it's just kind of salt in the wound with that one. Like, not only are they hyper focusing on it, but what they're focusing on isn't that good. It's just not. And so all these other characters, Finn, and the only other character really like that gets any focus is Poe when they go to, I don't know, whatever it's called, Kajimi or something. And that's it. Like, Finn and Rose and like even Lando gets like, I don't know, I remember having like fucking 5 or 6 lines and like 10 minutes of screen time. And that's it. Like, all these other characters just kind of swept aside. There's characters introduced in that movie that like barely get focused on. Like, both Finn and Poe basically get pseudo love interests that have like each respectively 10 minutes of screen time and 10 lines each. But moving on, because that's just, I'm just getting kind of pissed off with that one. The other problem with this, like, sweeping aside of stuff and just the stories feeling unimportant and unfocused on is just an overabundance of locations and settings. Like, it's the most in any Star Wars movie, at least the main ones that I can count, and I've counted them myself, so it may be a little inaccurate, but The Rise of Skywalker has, as I consider it, 8 main locations that they visit. And for comparison with this, A New Hope has 3 of them. Empire, Return of the Jedi, and The Phantom Menace each have 4. Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and The Force Awakens all have 5. And The Last Jedi has 6. So that's already 2 more than the next runner-up. And even that one felt like it jumped around a bit. But I mean, this one has a whole sequence that focuses on jumping from planet to planet. Like, you literally see like 3 or 4 different places in the space of like 10 seconds. And that actually brings me to another issue with this, one of the smaller problems that I have with it. Hyperspace feels like it makes no sense this time. Like, it feels like it's been really mistreated. Like, it feels almost like instant travel now, right? Because something like in the end fight, when Lando and Chewie are off rallying support, that should take a long time, right? They have to go to all these different systems and pick up people and then take them all to the unknown regions. That should have taken like probably hours, if not days at least. I'm not an expert on how the time conversion works and stuff, but I know it takes more than like a snap of your fingers like that, right? So they should have missed that fight, presumably, unless they left like, unless all of this is weirdly like weeks apart, which if it is, it doesn't seem that way or feel that way, and so it still doesn't make sense and doesn't feel right. But I think now that I've got that major issue out of the way, I'm just basically going to go on all the other stupid, smaller things that I think make this movie just feel like a bit of a joke. So, to get the big, basically, elephant in the room of stupid shit in this movie out of the way, the Force Heal. Force Heal doesn't, I would say, directly mess up the plot of The Rise of Skywalker, if you consider it as its own isolated thing, separated from the other 8 movies. Because, well, you see, tons of things could be changed with Force Heal in prior movies. I mean, Qui-Gon Jinn wouldn't die. That would change a lot of things, right? He would have trained Anakin instead of Obi-Wan, which would have changed things, better or worse. I'm probably better, but it would have changed a lot of stuff. And then Anakin seeing Padme die in his dream, oh, no biggie, I'll just Force Heal her if that happens. It'll be fine. So then Anakin's, one of his driving reasons to turn to the dark side is just gone. Wait a minute, I gotta... Okay. So, yeah, that would cause a lot of weird things. Now, another little issue I have that starts basically at the beginning of the movie, like right, just the very first foot it puts down is just weird for me. Including the message from Palpatine, like just saying, so Palpatine's back and he sent a message to people in the crawl. It feels weird. Like, I get that you're setting the scene and that's how the crawl works, and like dumping exposition to set up the context of everything is how things are done with the crawl. But that just feels like a huge thing that would have amounted to like, what? A 15 to 30 second scene in your movie to add in. It would have been better that way. To kind of be like, okay, so this is how the Resistance is doing, and this is how the First Order is doing. And then cut to the first scene, and it's a message from Palpatine. Ooh, wow. And then Kylo has to go find the Wayfinder. Instead of just jumping to that, just right away, it's right to that, to this unnecessary fight scene. With another issue, the needless reverse wielding. Like, yeah, it looks cool, but does it make sense for the character to use it if that's not how they normally fight? Like, a character like Ahsoka Tano, where that's just how she uses lightsabers, like, sure, it looks cool, but it also makes sense. Kylo Ren doing it because it looks cool, not that that's how he normally does things, it doesn't make sense. Because wouldn't it just... It makes more sense to just stick with what you know. Especially in, like, the later fights where it's Rey and Kylo Ren. And, I mean, it doesn't make sense, but they're effectively equally matched. Yeah, why would he do that? He does it, and it doesn't make sense. It would make more... He's lost to her before, which doesn't make sense and raises other issues that I'll get to in a minute. But why? Why would he swap to reverse wielding other than that it's cool? It doesn't make sense. It's stupid. I'm going to move on now. Rey beats Kylo Ren with no training. First time she's picked up a lightsaber, and that was 2 movies ago. Now, with actual training, like she's trained with Luke, she's trained with Leia, all of this stuff has happened. She's better at fighting now, and she loses to him. What do you mean? Why? This is it just maybe it's not the worst thing ever. Maybe I'm just misinterpreting it, but it just regardless, it doesn't work for me. It don't make sense. And that is one pro. We actually see Rey do some more training, actual training, right? You know, not just slicing a rock in half, like actually running a gauntlet and some stuff. So that's pretty good. That's one nice thing. But I do have one more thing before I get to just stupid in-universe big nerd stuff. How the hell does Rey block Palpatine's lightning that, like, basically was able to EMP every resistance ship in the atmosphere with one hand? Like how? How does she do that? Like, what do you mean? It's weird, and I'm gonna move on because I feel like I'm just stuttering through all these topics. But now, Kylo Ren's TIE Fighter redesign. It's not like a bad thing about the movie. It just looks stupid. It just looks dumb. And beyond that, here's my big like fucking in-universe nerd thing. How did they get a Death Star power level like planet-destroying laser into the underside hangar of an Imp 1? And like beyond just the concerns of can an Imp 1, like an Imperial 1 Star Destroyer, generate that much power to use the weapon? And beyond that, if they made that technology small enough to fit into a hangar that is like 200 by 200 meters, why didn't they just use better ships? They clearly had like 30 years and the technology and time and resources, because Palpatine was running the First Order from the shadows. He could have just, quickly just kind of called up Snoke and been like, can you send me some of those new Star Destroyers? That'd be really sick, thanks. And used actual good Star Destroyers. Instead of like almost 50-year-old ones. Like, if you're gonna put the planet-destroying lasers in them, use better ships to defend them. Those are like the most flawed things in Star Wars. You could have used something else. Like, literally anything else would have been better. And this kind of is a weird segue back into the other issue, the main issue. That battle is so massive, yet feels so unimportant to me for some reason. Like, it's this massive battle, literally tens of thousands of Star Destroyers and tens of thousands of other ships fighting. And it just feels like, well, it's not that important. You gotta think about Rey and Kylo and Palpatine and what's going on down there. This giant space battle isn't that important. It's just a way to cut like a few scenes so you keep paying attention. But all that's really important is Rey and Kylo and Palpatine. That's all that matters in this movie. And it just sucks. And another character swept to the side that's so weird. The Knights of Ren. Why were they there? What were they doing? This is their first actual, like, on a set appearance, like, not as just a name being dropped in or as a, like, flashback memory sequence. Like, they're actually here. And what do they do for the whole movie? They basically, like, stalk Rey and the gang for, like, 70% of their screen time and then fight Kylo Ren at the end and get their ass kicked because somehow, like, Rey and Kylo can basically exchange things through, like, mind teleportation shit, which is honestly so weird, and it feels like I understand some of the messed up stuff in the movie being there, not that I'm saying that rectifies it, but I understand why the hyper-focus has to be there to an extent. There's all this crazy shit going on, like just the weird dyad idea, which I'm on the fence about at the moment. I get that it's a lot of, like, The Last Jedi making weird shit happen and it having to be explained now. But it doesn't make it better, right? Gotta sip. But yeah, there's just so many ridiculous things that stem from that major issue, and then even those things aren't the like sum total. There's that other ridiculous in-universe stuff like why does the Knights of Ren ship have smoke trails? Like you can go as far back as like KOTOR, set thousands of years in the past, and they don't have smoke trails. So why is this ship that seems like if you're gonna have this order of Jedi hunting knights, wouldn't you give them something that didn't like seem like a rickety old piece of junk? Like come on. And it's just this kind of thing, you know, like. But I think I've come to the end of the movie now with my criticism. So one last thing to send off. It wasn't enough for Rey to be Palpatine's granddaughter, which when that theory got thrown around, I thought was just the most ridiculous thing. Like why would that be a thing? I thought that would never happen. I thought that was ridiculous. It happened, but it wasn't enough for that. She had to like honorarily appoint herself a Skywalker at the end of the movie, which feels like it just totally destroys the only message I could discern from the movie. That, like, you know, like your name, like your last name, your family, your bloodline doesn't define you. It's like it's whatever you want to be, do your own thing, go your own way, all that kind of stuff. And then at the end it's like, nah. The only way Rey could be like a cool, like awesome Jedi person is to be a Skywalker. That's the only way this can work out. And it just feels like it spits in the face of its own message and doesn't make sense. And the movie just it's a joke. It leaves its own in the movie plot lines unanswered. Like there's like a pseudo love interest for both Finn and Poe that have like collectively maybe 20 minutes of screen time and like 10 lines each, and that's it. Like it leaves its own stuff unanswered. It leaves previous things from the trilogy unanswered. It feels like it barely has a point, and it kind of barely stands on its own 2 feet, and dragged the franchise across the finish line basically. But I feel like before I go, I should talk about like the 3 pros for this movie I was able to round up. All 3 of them. I have them on my phone. Give me a minute. I forgot them already. Rey actually like trains for once. And I mean, I know she did some stuff in like The Last Jedi, but that was basically her losing her shit and cutting a rock in half, and that was it. This time she actually like runs a gauntlet and loses her shit and cuts a tree in half, but there was the gauntlet before that, so it's an improvement. It's better. It's tiny improvement, but it's there. Leia doing that Mary Poppins flying shit in Last Jedi makes a little bit more sense now, because we see that she trained as a Jedi, so the Force powers thing makes a little bit more sense. I mean, she was still in the vacuum of space, which is, you know, no spacesuit in space. Usually, you die, but it it was 2 years ago. I'm not gonna focus on it. And Chewie got his medal. Yay! And that was like the one nice piece of fan service in there. That was pretty cool. Very nice. It would, yeah. I mean, it was Leia's medal that she died with, so it's not even really his. He just kind of Maz just kind of was like, here, buddy. But you know, it was nice fan service at least. Thank you, very nice. But I think before I go, I should probably say this. As much as I've just kind of thrashed this movie for like the last however many minutes, I do feel like I should say that I do actually have respect for J.J. Abrams. Even though I like thoroughly have disliked the movie at the moment, my opinion may change with time. But yeah, don't like it. But I do have to say that like with the amount of respect and like civility that J.J. Abrams has approached like fan criticisms and the response to his movie, it's not even really just it's admirable just like for anyone in like the entertainment industry to be as civil as he's been, but especially, you know, compared to recent people involved in the Star Wars franchise, and you know who I mean. Yeah, it's a nice change of pace at least, and I gotta say there's, you know, some respect for JJ. If you watch this, you won't, but you know, if you do, I have respect for you. So there's that. And yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about it. I know that this video was probably a bit tedious and relatively a bit incoherent and unhinged and ranty, but I did watch it just a few days ago. I was away for Christmas things and busy and stuff, so I didn't really have time to watch it on release, but like a few days later. So I'm still kind of unpacking it. I may do like a more formal, complete review, analyzing it, and maybe do a trilogy review or something. I don't know if the video gets views. But, this was just kind of my, like, unpacking it mentally thoughts about it. And, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If you got all the way here, I hope you did and you didn't just watch it out of spite or something. That would make me sad. Anyway, like, share, subscribe stuff. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But, it'd be nice if you did, Make me really happy. But, yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And, I'll see you again in another video. So, bye-bye.